quite a while. Look at that, we're on YouTube too.
Yeah. The miracles of modern technology.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I went to a conference via Zoom a couple weekends ago, and a girlfriend of mine that's in my bubble, because when you're single, you're allowed to have 2 friends in a bubble.
Yeah.
We went to her place and we had beer and dinner, and we went to the conference. It was just like being at the conference. It was great.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
People are now in, so
50 so far.
Wow. Hello, everyone.
And I think the schedule shows my opening remarks at 7 o'clock sharp, doesn't it?
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you might have to wait a couple minutes depending how many are in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's me. Thank you, Brian.
There is a
Yeah.
delay between what live and onto YouTube. Not much, but there is.
Yeah. For me, it shows on the YouTube channel that it's still counting down 5.5 minutes to go.
That's right, John. I set it to start at 7.
Okay.
You didn't see that.
We're up to 70 people, 69 now.
We still got 5 minutes.
Just like the military, hurry up and wait.
Do you have a military background?
Yeah, I was in the Navy for a little while.
Hmm.
I wanted to be in the Air Force, but they told me that I'm 6'4", and they told me that if I was a fighter pilot and I ever had to eject, I'd lose about the top 2 inches of my head. So it was an easy decision to say, okay, Navy. And it was based on the West Coast out of Esquimalt, and it was a very, very enjoyable time in my career.
Susan,
My
we've
life.
lost your picture.
No, I've turned it off.
Okay.
There. I didn't want you to see what I was doing.
We're up to 82 people.
Excellent. I don't know that everyone that's signed on will actually be on the call. We have room for all of them.
Yeah, we have room for 500, isn't it?
We have room for 500, yes. I think if this was a Vancouver City election, we might have more than 500 people on it, but for Qualicum Beach, I think we're good with the 500 limit we chose.
Up to 93 now.
Yep.
$100 and $658.
Yep. Coming up 6:59.
I'll tell you when the YouTube actually starts here.
Okay. So we don't have to do a second take on my opening remarks.
Hmm.
118.
Good thing you bought more than 100 spots.
Yeah.
Well, that was our choice, 100, or the next increment was 500.
What's our total, Marvin? Maybe Marvin's not there.
Yeah, we can go now.
Okay, I'll keep letting people in. Hopefully that's not too disruptive.
Then I'll kick off the meeting. Good evening and welcome to this all candidates meeting organized by ERA, the Eagle Crest Residents Association. Our goal is to enable Qualicum Beach citizens to hear directly from the candidates. The board decided to organize this session based on the success of previous all candidates meetings that we have sponsored. The organizing committee has worked diligently to ensure that all candidates in the forum will be treated fairly, equally, and respectfully. I'm pleased to introduce the moderator for tonight, Susan Kolobaba. Susan lives in Parksville, having lived prior to that in the Okanagan and in the Kootenays. She has a number of years' experience with Toastmasters International and is an experienced moderator, public speaker, and facilitator. When I hand over to Susan, she will go over the necessary details to make this evening run smoothly. Please help me welcome Susan. Virtual clap.
Virtual clap. Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here. And I welcome everyone here to our evening of intrigue. The candidates want to thank you for your time and to your listening ears. I have been asked to moderate this program to help it run smoothly. I hope with your cooperation we can do that. First, I would like to cover some housekeeping rules. You will note that you are muted and everyone is muted except for the candidates and myself. And this will remain so. You will not be allowed to unmute yourself. We also ask that you please do not chat with each other in the chat. This would be considered similar to chatting to someone in a public meeting when a guest is speaking. That would be considered rude there, and here it is considered rude if you chat. If you insist on chatting, please do it privately, but you should know that the moderator can see what you put in your chat. So it's not really private. All people who are not muted, and that's us, very few of us, please make sure your phones are turned off. If you have not turned off your phones at this time, please do so. All the questions have been predetermined by questions provided to the organizers through an email. There will not be any questions from the floor this evening. The questions have not been changed from the format in which they were received unless they received several questions asking the same question, in which the group or the panel of three that were dealing with the questions found it necessary to amalgamate it into one. They did this very diligently and trying not to change the intent of the question. We are hoping that the information that you received today from these candidates will help you make a wise decision on voting day. The order in which the candidates speak has been predetermined through a random selection. This is true to every question, and speaking order will change with each question, providing equal opportunity for each candidate. The candidates will open with their opening comments, followed by some specific questions provided by you. And then at the end, they will be allowed a short time in which to wrap up. The candidates have been briefed on this process and will do their best to follow the timelines and give everyone equal opportunity. And candidates that exceeds the allotted time will be muted. Each candidate will be respectful of the other candidate. There will be no name calling, no off-color words, and no insults. These will not be tolerated. If I or the host sees this happening, the candidate will be muted. The first section, we will provide each candidate with 2 minutes for an introductory comment. We will be starting with Brian Denby, and then we will go to Sarah Duncan second, and then to Anne Skipsey, and then who's next? Peter, and followed by Jean. That is the first order. And I'll remind you as we go along, so don't think you have to remember. So starting with Brian, if you could unmute Brian, please. Starting with Brian, you have 2 minutes for opening comments. Please start.
Thank you very much, Susan. Hello, everybody. Hopefully everybody's staying safe, getting your shots. I know we're in some trying times, and I think most of us are actually doing quite well. Who am I? A lot of you people probably are wondering. I'm born in Austria. I came to Canada, immigrated to Canada, and I think when I was a year and a half old, and we settled in Nanaimo. my family and I. We basically went through the schools in Nanaimo. I lived on the island basically all my life, except for 5 years I lived in Ottawa. Most of my tenure in my working history has been actually on the island in the municipal government sector. So I've got a pretty broad knowledge of municipal politics and municipal works. I've got a lot of professional information with regards to working along with such parties as ICBC, Shaw Cable, RCMP, BC Hydro, downtown merchants, school districts, regional districts, several municipalities up and down the island. So I am actually quite well versed, and I feel well versed enough to fill a position with Qualicum Beach Council and hopefully serve the citizens of Qualicum Beach admirably and well. I know it's kind of a diverse, different town, and I'm actually looking forward to working here. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Excuse me. The second candidate is Sarah. Sarah, if you could provide us with your opening comments, please.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Sarah Duncan, and I am pleased to put my name forward for the by-election coming up on May 15th. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I moved to Qualicum Beach when I was 12 years old. I attended KSS and graduated in 1996. Throughout my years while I was living here as a youth, I worked at the Beach Hut, a pharmacy, the College Inn, and I babysat. I have two daughters that currently attend Qualicum Beach Elementary School, and I have a husband that owns and operates a family construction business here in town. I'm currently the branch manager at Coastal Community Credit Union, and I've worked here for over 15 years. The visions and values of Coastal Community is partly the very reason why I'm able to put my name forward for this endeavor. I'm passionate about my community. I've spent the last 5 years volunteering in various capacities, most recently as the chair of the Qualicum Beach Chamber of Commerce and the chair of the Parks of Qualicum Community Foundation, as well as I am the current treasurer for the Qualicum Beach Elementary School PAC. My Qualicum Beach, let me tell you a little bit about it. My vision includes a refresh and a rejuvenated Qualicum Beach, a place where people can come and enjoy our town, all the things it has to offer, stay the night, hit the golf courses, enjoy a nice meal, visit the sunset in the evening with their families, and enjoy the place that we are also very fortunate to call home. As a 30-year resident of Qualicum Beach, I am proud to be putting my name forward, and I hope that I can count on your vote on May 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. That was great. Our next speaker is Anne. So Anne, please tell us, please give us your opening comments.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And thank you all for your participation in this important democratic process. I'm Anne Skipsey, and I have a lifetime connection with Qualicum Beach. With the exception of time spent attending university and my career working mostly in local government, I have been rooted in this community. We are fortunate that over the decades, so many things have been done well here in Qualicum Beach, from the beautification of our beautiful, walkable uptown to the provision of good, clean drinking water. The very first official community plan was created in the 1970s when my dad was mayor, and it laid out the type of community Qualicum Beach wanted to be. We have the opportunity to continue to build on this solid foundation and forward-thinking groundwork. My vision for Qualicum Beach is to preserve the character of our town while moving forward to embrace change, opportunities, and challenges of housing, aging infrastructure, climate, tourism, and business. I value open dialogue and civil discussions around the issues and opportunities facing our community. From experience, I know there are times when community disagrees, but it is important that we remain willing to explore those differences, because that's usually where the best solutions lie. This by-election is different from a general election in that with just 17 months left, the person who is elected will need to hit the ground running. I have the experience, I know the job, and I'm ready to work as a counselor for the residents of Qualicum Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Our fourth candidate, Peter, if you could do your opening comments, that would be appreciated.
Well, thanks very much. Hello, Eagle Crest residents and those tuning in. My name is Peter Kent, and I'd like to extend my gratitude to the community for all the encouragement and support to run. A lot of family and friends who live in Eagle Crest, and my wife actually grew up there, so it's nice to have this opportunity. I grew up in Nanaimo my early years. I worked at Harmac Mill, and at one point moved to California and was fortunate enough to become the personal stunt double to Arnold Schwarzenegger for 15 years. I am the first Canadian inducted into the Hollywood Stuntmen's Hall of Fame. I returned many times back to BC to frequent the island and visit my mom, who was a resident here in Qualicum Beach for 30 years. The day after my mom passed away, I walked into an oceanside coffee shop and I met a nurse named Marcia Reed. And I went from being the last living member of my family into marrying into one of the more legendary Qualicum Beach families with roots here for the past century. So fast forward 16 years to today, now I have 11-year-old twin sons, the lights of my life, and one insane chocolate lab. Prior to returning to Qualicum Beach in 2018, I lived in Squamish, and I served in many capacities there, as did my wife, a nurse, PAC chair, board of directors for hospice. I was elected to Squamish Town Council for 2014 to 2018, worked very closely with the town staff and our terrific cohesive council that we had, as well as First Nations. And during this time, I served as the district chair for the Corporate and Public Services Committee, Finance and Audit Committee, Digital Strategy, Library Board, Youth Engagement, Transit, Affordable Housing Task Force, and Seniors Housing. Also first responder initiatives for the RCMP, Fire, and EHS. We created 4 completed budgets, 4 strategic plans, and delivered our official community plan in 2 years with very in-depth public consultation, for which we won a national award. And I have to largely thank our staff for that, who worked very diligently. So ultimately, with 1.5 years left in this term, I believe that my experience would make me a great asset to work towards the town of Qualicum Beach and to assist our citizens in hearing their voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And certainly not least, but last, excuse me, Jean, could you please give us your opening comments?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here to get to know more about the candidates running in this by-election. For those that don't know me, my name is Jean Young. I have a long-term involvement, commitment, and love for our town. I am the candidate with the smallest signs and the biggest heartfelt message of caring, collaboration, and commitment. For more than 25 years, I have owned and managed a retail business in Qualicum Beach. It is at my store that daily I hear comments and concerns, which has spurred me on to support many of our local charities and take initiative to find positive results, whether going to our council or to a higher government. When we're self-employed in a small business, it's not just a job you can get away with mediocrity. You face continued challenges, example, box stores, Amazon, and now the COVID pandemic. To be resilient and to thrive. As your counselor, I would be bringing the same extra dedication and work ethic to addressing your concerns of our community. I have raised my 3 children here into young adults with a well-rounded education and life experience. With only my granddoggy Oscar and a couple of goldfish, in recent years, I've had the time to be a director on various boards, such as Qualicum Beach Chamber of Commerce, parts of Qualicum Beach Tourism Association, and vice chair of Oceanside Women's Business Network, as well as rallying a group of volunteers to operate the annual Uptown Market. My experience with being on various boards and operating my retail store has shown me that strategic plans and goals are important for achieving success. Being on City Council would be a way for me to give back to the community that has supported and encouraged me and my family for over 25 years. I want to be a team member on Town Council representing your voice and your views for the future of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, everyone, for your informative introductions. They're much appreciated. During this next session, each candidate will be asked the same 5 questions, and then you will be given up to 2 minutes to answer the question. If you choose to pass on this question, just let me know when it's your turn, saying, I want to pass, or no, thank you. Again, if you go over the time limit, you will be muted. Our first speaker this time is Anne. Here's the question, Anne. Where is the question? Here's the question, Anne. Just let me read it for you. The Kiwanis have proposed an affordable housing complex at Railway Avenue and Village Way. What are your thoughts on this, on the needs for this facility, on the proposed location and design, and what other locations, including the airport, should be considered? Would you like me to read that again?
Sure, one more time would be good
Okay.
for everyone.
The Kiwanis have proposed an affordable housing complex at Railway Avenue and Village Way. What are your thoughts on the needs for such a facility, on the proposed location and design, and whether other locations should be included, such as the airport, when considered for this project?
Okay, got it. Okay, well, thank you for the question. And I have been closely following the progress of this proposal. I attended the public information meeting back when we were talking about location, and there were a number of people that expressed concern and a desire to look at other locations. However, my understanding is that that has not been considered, that this is the location that council has chosen. Now, I understand that currently the town had completed a survey on the form and character of the building. And so those results are awaiting, they'll be presented by staff in a report that will come to council. And I know that a lot of people participated in that survey. So I think those results are really important to consider what the citizens are thinking about the size of the building. And as far as the needs, I heard the planner say that he believed that there is a need, and I think most people would agree with that. When we looked at our official community plan, housing was definitely a large part of the conversation. So what I would like to see, though, is a needs assessment done at some point. I believe before our next official community plan review, it will be a requirement. And I think that a needs assessment would definitely help inform what it is that we're trying to accomplish through the affordable housing. Is it housing for seniors? Is it housing for families? Is it rentals? Is it entry-level ownership? You know, I think there's lots of things that we can look at for our housing mix, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Anne. Our second speaker for this question is Brian. Brian, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the Kiwanis have proposed an affordable housing complex at Railway Avenue and Village Way. What are your thoughts on the need for such a facility, on the proposed location and design, and whether other locations, including the airport, should be considered?
Okay, thank you. I think, first of all, I'd like to lay a ground rule for us is that I've only thrown my hat, just so people know, I've only thrown my hat in the ring here about 4 weeks ago. So as far as the current events, I am picking up speed. I am getting used to or understanding what's going on within the community of Qualicum Beach. The Kiwanis building is one that I looked at, and I kind of agree with that. I think it's needed. One of the things is I did note was it's right by the rail corridor. I mean, if that ever started up again, I don't know how that would affect the development. But I do have some views as regards to the railway corridor, because I think that is a viable thing for us in the town of Qualicum as another corridor for us for moving people around. So as far as the Kiwanis building and the design goes, I'm actually for it. I think it works. I think it helps people out, and I think it is a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Oh, our next speaker is Sarah. Sarah, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sorry, no, that's fine. I understand the question.
Okay.
I'm in full support of the railway development as proposed. I'd like to first off thank Walter Hoogland and everybody else for their involvement in the project. I think it's really important when considering the affordable housing option that we need to make sure that people that are living there are part of our community. And this particular spot in town offers that. It gives them accessibility to all of our elementary schools that are in our area, our grocery stores, our farmers market, our downtown core. It makes people feel like they're part of a community. And I think that that's really important. Qualicum Beach has the worst rate of poverty in Oceanside. 1 in 4 people are paying over 50% of their income to a rent or a housing payment. The Canadian standard is actually 30%. I think that that there is some issues that have been brought forward to the size and maybe the look of the building. But in all honesty, at this point, we really need to just stop talking about affordable housing and make the plan happen so we can get people into homes and be part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Our next speaker is Peter. Peter, would you like me to repeat the question?
There we go. Just trying to unmute my mic. Thank you for the question. I'm in full support of it. I've been by the location and looked at it. I've looked at the plan for it. I do, like Anne, I think that it needs to come back. And when we see what the vision is for the community, for the size and form and character of the building and how it fits into the neighborhood, but there is most definitely a need for affordable housing. We know right now what housing prices look like, and very few, in fact, are able to afford a new home or even an older home for that matter. And I have seen some of the plan laid out as to how it may be structured for families and rental use and or long-term. I think that those things will still be worked out through the Kiwanis. I commend them on the job that they've done in putting this together. I know it's not an easy task. I was on the Affordable Housing Task Force in Squamish, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of back and forth and a lot of give and take with the BC Housing and with CMHC. But I think that there's still some work to be done on the design. And then to Anne's comment too about needs assessment, I think that will come at a later date, but I definitely think there is a need for it. Yes, it's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Jean, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay.
It's wonderful to hear that we are proceeding with affordable housing idea. I think the location is fine, but personally, I might have thought about the tennis court and thinking the tennis court that we have right now could be moved into the commons where it used to be the elementary school. I'm thinking the tennis court because it's between St. Stephen's Church and the gardens. So it isn't taking over in a community, and yet it's still accessible to the downtown core. I would like to see green initiatives in this building plan. I was really happy when I spoke to Walter Hoogland that he said the community garden stays. In fact, they would plan on expanding it and maybe having fruit trees and that. So I was thrilled about that. And he said there'll be a play area. And I mean, it's great to have more multi-generational housing. One thing I'd like to add, though, if we could have pets allowed, small pets, for especially a lot of the families, children love them. For our seniors, it's good company for our seniors. And in the present one that we do have, it isn't allowed, and it's a lament. And I'd like to see that changed. Thanks.
Thank you, Jean. So that's the round of question number 1. Question number 2 that was brought forward, and we will be starting with Jean. And the question is, the new Flowerstone nurse practitioner clinic in Qualicum Beach is most welcome, but it cannot possibly meet the needs of a rapidly growing Oceanside population. What role, if any, should town council play in working with the other levels of government to effectively address this problem? Jean. Do you want me to read it again?
No, it's all good.
Okay.
I have known since the last election that there's been a perfect storm group that's been actively looking into the situation, about getting more doctors, about possibly getting a clinic in our area. And I haven't been in touch with them, but I certainly hope they're still working at it. I see that Marles Diamond's in our audience, and I'm sure we'll all need to talk to her to see what's going on. And I'm glad that Flowerstone is here. I've heard lots of ladies loving it, and thank you to Flowerstone for being here. And we do need more. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean. Our next speaker is Peter. Peter, could you address this question?
There we go. Thank you. Yes. I am personally myself, when I first moved back over here, I had a doctor which quickly disappeared, and I'm currently going as far as Comox to see a doctor. And there are many who are even less fortunate than I that are unable to get a doctor, especially with our aging population, as well as our younger families that are moving here. I think it's very, very important. And of course, addressing other levels of government, because this is where we can actually affect some change, is talking to the province. The federal government, of course, is sort of beyond that. And but in speaking to the province, I think this is where the Perfect Storm Group comes into play. I'm very happy to see an initiative put forth by anyone to help to move this into the forefront, because with our community as it is, there's not enough doctors to go around, and those that are here are very overstressed. My wife is a nurse in Nanaimo, and it's become a hard to imagine having to go, stand in line, as you see at Life Labs, for hours out front, or going down to Oceanside and standing in line just for the walk-in clinic, or going to Nanaimo to the Walmart for the walk-in clinic at Walmart. It's tough enough at any rate without having to deal with COVID at the same time. So kudos to Perfect Storm. And yes, we definitely need more doctors in our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Okay, Brian, it's your turn. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's fine, Susan, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Agree with everybody. Because of our generation being up here, basically a lot of people retiring here, we certainly need more doctors here. As a matter of fact, I made my appointment today. It's going to be a phone appointment, believe it or not, with my doctor in Nanaimo. So absolutely, whatever we can do to get the Ministry of Health come up and with some kind of ideas to try and create more doctors here, absolutely. Problem is, I guess we really don't have a lot of skilled doctors within the province of British Columbia that we can draw from. And a lot of those doctors are basically going to go to where they're really needed. So it's a tough road. It's something that we really need to work on, and kudos to the group working for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Anne, could you please address that question?
Okay, thank you. I think it's wonderful that the 4 nurse practitioners have chosen to locate in Qualicum Beach. It provides a much needed service for our citizens, but it really is just a start. There's so much more that's needed in the community, and I think it's not good enough that residents need to travel or have to travel up to an hour in order to visit or to have a doctor. So I think that the town needs to continue to work with our local doctors and their association and the community group and the province to find a solution and to find a way to attract more doctors to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Sarah, could you please address the question? We need Sarah unmuted, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah, it is not uncommon for people to be driving to a different community, even up as far as Campbell River, to meet with a family doctor. And I agree with everybody else. That is onerous and actually kind of unacceptable. The Flowerstone Clinic did open up 2,500 spots, and they're currently expanding to 6 nurse practitioners and 2 physicians. I spent some time with Evelyn Clark, that is the manager or division of family practice for our region. And so they're working really hard at expanding that network, opening a smaller clinic that is similar to Flowerstone, hopefully in Arrington sometime this year. I feel like the doctor situation is not unique to Oceanside. Doctors don't really want to run a business. They want to come in and do their job and work with practitioners that are like them and that complement each other with the services that they offer. The Division of Family Practice is also working on a rapid response clinic to see a doctor within a day, as well as offering some mental health support. Again, like everybody else said, I agree. It is a provincial mandate. We deserve to work better with our province to find a solution to the doctor shortage. I also understand that it's very difficult to attract doctors to smaller communities. They want a different way of life. But now with the ability to work more from home, I think it's going to offer a nicer quality of life for people to come to a smaller community, whereby maybe their partner might be able to still work virtually from wherever they're working, from where they're living now. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the third question. And our first speaker on the third question is Sarah. And so the third question goes, to what extent would you adhere to the guidelines of the official community plan when it comes to decisions about rezoning proposals, and specifically with Pheasant Glen and 850 Eagle Crest proposals? Do you support these projects?
Thank you for the question. I see tremendous value in the OCP and having the OCP and the process behind developing the OCP. I believe the OCP is intended to be a guide and a living document. And it includes an amendment process on purpose. I think that it's important for the town to be able to take advantage of opportunities as they present our way, should they arise. As outlined in the OCP, it is managing a balance to allow growth to support our local businesses, maintain school enrollment, and meeting housing demand while preserving qualities. I am in favor of both developments that you have noted from what I've seen so far. I think Pheasant Glen offers a tourism component that I think our town is missing. Quite frankly, right now, people are coming to our area. They're golfing here, they're eating in our restaurants, and they're going off to a nearby community and spending their money there and staying the night there. I think that it offers a lot of amenities that complement the town that we have. As far as the Todson development, I have spent some time with the developers and understand their proposal. And I also think that it's a great idea from what I can see so far. I think that it offers a different type of housing to our area, different than the affordable housing, but a housing that is much needed. I think it's important to note that there are lots of people that are aging. I think of my parents and I think about how they are going to be aging, and it's going to be my responsibility. And I look at an opportunity like at the Todson development, whereby maybe my family could move there and my parents could stay out of a senior's home and live with their family and stay healthy and be active participating in their community and raising their grandchildren. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Sarah. The next speaker is Anne. Oh, just a sec. Yes, it is. It's Anne.
Okay.
Can you please address the question?
Sure. Well, thank you for the question. And I am committed to upholding the official community plan. It reflects the community's values and vision. And it's our roadmap on how we get to the future. And like any plan, though, it is not etched in stone, and it will evolve and needs to evolve as different things change and opportunities present themselves. However, I think if we're going to make changes to the OCP, there needs to be a very strong case made as to why we would depart from it, and there needs to be a lot of information provided and citizen consultation. And I think that we really need to listen to citizens about making changes going forward. I know that there are people that have actually moved to this community because they've read the OCP and they feel that the values and the vision reflected in the document are the type of community that they want to live in. So You know, I think that I think it's a citizen document. It was the citizens that put the document together, and I think we need to honor it and reflect that in our decision making. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Brian, you are the next speaker.
Thank you, Susan. Absolutely. The OCP is a valuable document. Oh, am I on? Sorry. Absolutely. The OCP is an absolutely excellent document, guideline for any community, not just Qualicum Beach. It's a document that actually directs us on how we, the citizens, want Qualicum to grow. We all have a say in it. We can change it. It's like said, mentioned before, it's a living document. And it actually prevents councils or other interested groups from doing things that otherwise would be unstoppable. So I like it. I think it works, and it works in every community, and it's definitely something that we need here in Qualicum Beach, and it really is an asset. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Jean, can you address this question, please?
Yes, thank you. As far as the OCP, it is a living document, and I believe it should be amended as needed, but still appropriately aligning to what we want. As far as big proposals, 225 housing units is a big ask, and it's wonderful, all the amenities and everything that the Duttons are offering, and the same with the Todson development. It is wonderful to get more housing. My thing is that I would like to see the environmentalist reports to make sure that it will be okay where it's going, if it's going to affect the water that's coming in the area when there's so much going on there. Where does the wastewater and sewage go? Because people are asking about that. So if we had more clarity as to the developers having checked all the boxes for us, it's a 100% go. It's like if someone was looking at a fancy dress and you love it, well, if it's practical, if it works for you, then go for it. But if it isn't practical, you can't, even though it's beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you, Jean. Peter, as soon as you're unmuted, could you address the question?
Mute myself. There we go. Thank you. So to the comments about the OCP, and I was fortunate enough to be part of crafting one in Squamish, and it took extensive public consultation. So it's not something to be amended lightly and in an ad hoc fashion. I'm a firm believer in public vetting for all of it. The problem I have is that, for instance, let's take the piece at Eagle Crest. For years and years, staff was recommending to council that not proceed, that there were other places that could be built, and anything but that. And then recently we've had a change of heart, apparently, and we seem to be leaning more in that direction. Unfortunately, with that and other OCP amendments is once you make that and change that zoning, you now open yourself up to setting a precedent. And once that happens with one developer, it allows for another developer to say, well, you gave it to him, so why not me? And then if you deny that to that other developer, you run the risk of being sued as a council and as a community. So with regard to that, I'm not so in favor, no. And looking at 225 homes up at Pheasants Glen, I like the idea of a resort. I think it's a fabulous idea, and it's what it was extracted from the ALR lands for. To put 225 homes in there on the Beach Creek watershed, you know, it's a very riparian area. There's a lot of issues in there. I'm not so in favor of that idea, no. I think that it would require a lot of public consultation to move forward, and possibly even a referendum. I mean, if it came down to, you know, a stalemate on moving ahead with it, put it on the ballot for the next election and run a referendum of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Now we'll move on to our fourth question, and we'll start with Sarah again. The fourth question is, given the issues surrounding current town council, how do you propose to work with other members of council? How would your past experience contribute to your role as a member on this council?
Thank you for the question. I think it's important to figure out when you're starting out fresh in a role like this, where you fit into a team. In this case, this team already exists. And I think that the new team, whoever the successful candidate should be, will have to work closely together to figure out how this team works together and moves forward and confidently in the right direction. My role right now, I manage people and I engage with a group of people every single day. I have people skills, I have HR skills. I like a team approach. I think it's really important that everybody feels that they are part of a team. I feel like recognition is important. I also think it's really important that people have the opportunity to disagree with one another and have a proper democratic process, whereby you can disagree with the decision that's made. And then the next day you might see somebody on the street and you can say, hi, how are you? Because that's the way it should roll. I feel like I feel myself, I'm open, I'm honest, I'm transparent, and communication is key. Decisions shouldn't always have to be made behind closed doors, and we should seek public input. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Anne, would you like to answer that question?
Sure. Thank you for the question. And as I mentioned in my opening, that I value open dialogue and civil discussions around the issues and the opportunities facing our community. So I think that applies with both council and the community. And I know that there's times when we will disagree, but it's important that we remain willing to explore those differences. And usually somewhere in between is where we come to a solution. And I think that debate, and it needs to be respectful, and we need to respect that other perspectives are out there and are just as valid as our own. And we can disagree, but we should not be disagreeable about the issues. So we know it's a small town, everybody knows everybody. Let's work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean, can you address that question, please?
Yes. In my retail business, it is always about being able to communicate with people, and they're people you haven't met before, but suddenly, shortly after, you're getting along fine. And that's what I look forward to being on this council, that we can work with each other, communicate openly and respectfully. And I look forward to working with them and to say, hey, what's my homework? What do I have to brush up on so that I could be right on speed with them? And I ran with them when we were in the general election earlier. And they're a group of people that, you can get along with. There's no problems. And that's the whole thing, because we all want the same thing. We're all about doing our job and getting what's best for what our community deserves and what our people want. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, who's next? It's Peter. And
Thank you. Having been formerly a counselor, and as well as having been a producer in film and television, I know the value of teamwork and delegating, but working closely with people. And you can't have egos in this position. We have to remember why we're put in the chair in the first place, and that is because of the level of trust that people have who've elected you. Bickering and egos have no place in the council. We're there to do the will of the people. Basically, it's a service job. So I've been very fortunate when I was in Squamish Council and working with some staff and with the council there who were very, I wouldn't say we agreed on everything, but we kept a united front to the town and to the community in order to not show that we were fractured and fighting amongst each other. And I think that's key, is to show that we're there doing the job that we were elected to do. And it's about teamwork and trusting each other. Obviously, not everybody's going to come to the same conclusions on different questions and different issues, but it's respecting each other's decisions. And at the end of the day, also respecting your staff, because I think that's a really key piece. We were fortunate enough to have great relations with ours, and I would love to see that come back again. It's very important because these people are actually doing all the grunt work for you in council and around the town. People that are just out there pulling weeds in the garden, people that are driving the trucks every day. It's important to have a great relationship with them, and ergo with your council members as well. It's a very important key piece, that relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So question number 5, and after this question, we will move on to specific questions for specific candidates.
Excuse
So
me,
this is-
Susan. Brian needed to answer that question.
Oh, Brian, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Brian, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you please ask the question again for me?
Sure, no problem. Given the issues surrounding current town council, how do you propose to work with other members of council? How would your past experience contribute to your role as a member of this council?
Okay, thank you. So coming in, I really have no preconceived thoughts about what's been going on in council. To me, that's irrelevant. In all my work history, I've worked with hundreds of thousands of people, all walks of life, especially citizens. I've dealt with citizens' concerns and issues, and we've always managed to come to an amiable result. So I feel that I really do have that ability to communicate with people, ensure that everything is going on that needs to be discussed, and in the end, come out with a resolution that's amiable for everybody. It's a tough question because just in my short term here, I know that there has been some issues with council, but I don't look to that. I think we can look to the future, get past that, and I do work well with people. I always have, so I think I have that quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian, and I apologize.
Nope.
Now we'll move on to the last question. And our first speaker will be Brian this time. The question goes, if elected, what would be your top 3 priorities for Qualicum Beach?
Okay, thank you. I think the first quality is we need to get some, believe it or not, more affordable housing for people in Qualicum. I've walked around, I've talked to people, and actually some of the merchants, believe it or not, I talked to one merchant that used to live here and had to move, couldn't afford to live here, but they still have a store here in town, which kind of surprised me. The other thing I guess we're looking at, some of the other parts of my platform, is the arts. I definitely love the arts. I've come from an art background, being on Nanaimo Art Gallery and Exhibition Center director. My family has been in the arts. And so I've got the arts as a platform. The other thing is tourism. I think the one thing that would help us here in Qualicum is tourism. I really think it would certainly help our merchants. We do have a wonderful place for people to come, stay and spend their money and then leave. But things like having the Brant Festival as an example. You bring people in here to watch the Brants and take their photographs. There's a lot of bird people out there. And so you get those kind of people in here that come and stay. Because a lot of times with our downtown merchants, tourism is high in the summer, and they sort of rely on that to get them through the winters. So I'm kind of looking at those winter months where we can get some tourism in here and help those people out. So I guess it's housing, arts, and tourism is the main 3 things that I'm looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Second person to address this question, will be Jean. What are your 3 top priorities for Qualicum Beach?
I would say right at the top would be affordable multi-generational housing for sale and for rent. Next, I would like to see, and I also would like to see a little change in how we do new buildings, more green initiatives. We've got global warming, climate change, and we've only got one shot at it, and we really should be mindful of that. And especially even with the Qantas housing that we're doing, in any town development, we should set the example for all of our other developers as well. And now getting to the developers, I would like to see more details on their proposal. Like, it's all wonderful what they want to give us. I would like to see how it is mindful of the environment. I would like to see the reports, and I would like to see it moving along. Like Pheasant Glen, they've been at the planning table now for 15 years of our town, if not more. And I would like to really be supportive of them doing something, because they've got some great ideas. Just that it just has to be environmentally appropriate. Let's just see. Third item, having our council just being able to have our public be more knowledgeable of what's going on and what the council is working with, less of the in-camera meetings or closed door decisions. And that's probably why I'm jumping into politics, is because daily in my business, I hear people talking about the politics in our community. And unfortunately, they have been whining. And the only whining I want to see is drinking the wine.
Thank you. Peter, would you like to answer that question? What are the 3 things that you would do when you
Thank
first
you.
come to council?
I have to stop laughing for a sec. Thank you, Jean. Okay, I think the top one really is listening. I hear from so many people out there that that they just don't feel like council is listening to them. They don't feel that their voices are being heard, and that's something that I hear commonly daily, actually. The other thing I think really key is transparency. We do have enclosed and in-camera meetings. Those are for a purpose, usually legally or for some other reason. But one thing that we were really responsive to in Squamish was, once something has gone in camera, when it actually has the time has lapsed for whether it's a legal reason or whatever, that agenda item can be moved out into public. Personal names can be redacted if it has to be that way, but so that the community can see what is happening, so there's no suspicion going on about what's happening behind closed doors. And I really think transparency is key. And the listening and the voices of the community are very important to what council is doing. And I'm going to lump these other things together, which is the seeing the bus garage and the commons development come to vision. I think it's a fabulous way to move us forward. The East Village, phenomenal concept, which leaves our village, our historical village here in the heart of Qualicum, presently untouched and pristine, but also gives us a whole other alternative, which will attract the younger demographic and also, make it wonderful for our people who've lived here over the years to have alternative housing, alternative commercial spaces, all of those things. And then also the affordable housing piece, which I think is a very important one, because as we know, it is not affordable any longer. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So the next speaker is Sarah. Sarah, could you address or let us know what the 3 things are that you would take on?
Thanks, Susan. Number one priority for me would be affordable housing. I think it's so important. I can't stress it enough. There's a massive impact on our local families, and I think that we're doing them a disservice if they have to leave our community to go and live somewhere else. Suppose maybe they have one person here that can help them, whether it's a senior citizen that's living in an affordable housing or a young family. Maybe they have one aunt or one granddaughter that is able to help them in our town. And now, if there's nowhere for them to live and they can't afford, now they're leaving their community, the place that they call home. And I worked with a young family that has moved into an affordable housing complex, and I can't tell you enough how much that has changed their lives. It's astounding, quite honestly. Number 2 priority would be healthcare. I know we've already talked about it tonight, but I think it's really important. We have an aging demographic. We have a need for healthcare. I'd like to work closely with our partners to ensure that we at least have open dialogue and honest conversation about where we're going with the healthcare. And the third one, in all honesty, is communication. I think there's a lack of communication in this town. Social media is rampant and toxic. We need to have more open and honest, transparent and respectful conversations that are, like Jean said, in open, in public, for people to have public input, and I feel like their voice is being heard, and that we're here to listen. I think that that's really important, and I'd like to see that change going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And would you like to address the 3 things that you'll do when you're elected?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And like a couple of the other candidates, I believe that a more accessible town hall and a more transparent, I think that's really important, that citizens feel like they're being heard and that their voices matter. And I think that there's lots we can do at Town Hall. I do know that there's a lot going on too. So there is a staff, or there will be a review about just an operations review about how much is enough, or how much can we handle in going, there's a lot of pressing issues in the town right now. And so I think we need to make sure that our staff are well supported. And also I think, like others have said, housing, and providing a diversity of housing and options to support the social and economic needs in our community. And with regard to families, it's also, there's other supports that are important, like childcare. I was involved with a group that was successful in procuring an additional 37 childcare spaces for our community. And I think that goes a long way to helping to support our families as well. And I guess the third thing for me would be to advance the tree and vegetation management plan and bylaw, and the climate change adaptation plan. And those things have been in the works for a long time, and I think they're very important going forward. With the management of the trees, it's not that every tree is going to be saved, but we need to have a more holistic approach. And right now, some of these things are being applied on an ad hoc basis to builders. And I think we need to make sure we level the playing field for everyone. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Anne. So now that finishes our round of questions. Next, we'll run through several questions. Each was addressed to a specific candidate. So just the question will go to that specific candidate. You have 2 minutes to answer that question, and only you will be asked it, and then the next candidate will be asked their specific question. So we're going to start with Peter. Peter, your specific question is, what role did you play on your previous council, and how would this experience benefit the town of Qualicum Beach?
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, yes, you are.
Terrific, thank you. As I said in my introductory speech, I sat on pretty much in the 4 years I was there on as a chairman on every one of our committees, ran the committees of the whole. I was the chairperson and actually helped to found the Digital Strategy Committee for the District of Squamish. I also worked on the Finance and Audit Committee. So if somebody has the footage from this and can play back my whole beginning speech, and actually just bringing the experience to the table. You have to understand that stepping into this job as a junior counselor is a very steep learning curve. And because we're coming into this midterm, it's going to be tough to hit the ground running and to be able to deal with these major issues at the same time as trying to learn the ropes as to how the municipal machine works. And so I bring that to the table with 4 years of experience. I also bring, I'm very open and I like to communicate with people. I think that's something that is really needed in our council and with our staff. You get so much more done by having this open relationship. I remember on council in Squamish where we could go in, and if I had an issue with a constituent wanting to know about a permit. I could go in and say, you know, George down the road here wants to know how his permit's doing. And I could actually go into the planning office, and if he wasn't busy, I could say to him, how's that going? And we could have that conversation. And I think those are the kinds of things where you deliver personal service to the community, and you can help to move things forward, you know, for those kinds of agendas. You know, it's about communication. And for me, my past experience, I think, speaks for itself. But yes, I would love to be able to bring that to bear in Qualicum Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Our next question goes to Anne. And Anne's question is, you have stated that Qualicum Beach is at a crossroads. Would you please explain what you mean by this?
Okay, sure. Well, I feel that over the last 50 or so years, we've basically adhered to the official community plan and the vision and the values of the community. And there's been some long-term leadership that has ensured that we've gone that route. And I think now we're looking at making changes that are contrary to the vision of the OCP. So overwhelmingly in the last quality of life survey, the number one thing that people felt was the vision for the future of Qualicum Beach was to maintain our small town character. And I believe if we start approving buildings, you know, and outside of the recommended 3 stories, and maybe there are cases where we want to consider that, but essentially the plan has the roadmap as to how we carry on those visions and those values. So I think that if we choose to deviate extensively from the OCP, then we're going to risk losing that vision for our community and for the long term. The decisions that we're making today are going to affect what the Qualicum Beach of tomorrow looks like. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, the next question goes to Brian. Brian, your specific question is, you have stated your long-term vision for Qualicum Beach is the status quo, with growth to be controlled by the citizens. Could you explain how that would work?
Absolutely. So what I meant by the status quo is where we are today. We're certainly going to be, there will be some changes coming, but again, it's going to be through the OCP, and it's going to be done by basically the citizens of Qualicum Beach and through their guidance to council, and through council, then those changes will happen, such as affordable housing, such as the arts, such as tourism, such as, what was the other one I was thinking? Like the changes to the public works yard, things like that. And I know that's going to probably be coming up here shortly. So status quo, yes, but there will be changes, and you know, it needs to be gradual. It needs to be absolutely agreed upon by the citizens of Qualicum Beach. Because to me, the citizens of Qualicum Beach run the town, not the politicians, nobody else, just the citizens. And we need to listen to those people, because they're the ones that are going to guide us through this. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. The next question goes to Sarah. And Sarah, here is your question. How will you balance your full-time responsibilities at the credit union and your council responsibilities?
Thank you for your question. I am going to balance it in a number of ways. I am excellent at time management skills. And when I say I have time management skills, it means that I have a team of people that help me do my job. I couldn't do any of the jobs that I do now if I didn't have a team of people behind me, namely my family. I have a husband that's committed to helping me. I have 2 children, as you all know, that are growing up, and I also have the ability to take the time off that I need for my job to be able to fulfill my job as a council person. Thank you.
Thank you. And so that leaves us with the question for Jean. How has living and owning a business in Qualicum Beach prepared you to be on council?
Good question. It's one of the reasons why I'm running in this election and in the past election, because I get to hear the people's concerns and their comments about what's going on in our community. And it becomes a conversation where you get involved. And so you want to be there to be supportive, and you want to find answers to their concerns and to find positive results. And that's why I'm involved in so many of our local charities, because it's a great support system for our community. And just being in the business, it also, I have an open door policy. So everybody is so accessible in coming to talk to me about any of their concerns. And I love that. And that's another reason why I feel we do need to work with the public, to be collaborative with the public. And I certainly give easy access for anyone to get in touch with me, because my business is open 7 days of the week. And living in this community and raising my 3 children, in those days we had 3 schools, and going through the school system, and they all enjoy the recreational activities that were afforded here. It puts me in touch with all the wonderful things that our town has and things that we need to maintain and expand on. Thank you.
Thank you. I do believe everybody has had their question. So what we're going to do, because time allows us, is we will move back to the general questions before we move to the closing comments. So same format as before. I've drawn your names. I know what order you go in, and I'm going to continue to work my way through the list. So our next question, which will be question number 6, is going to start with Brian answering it. And question number 6 is, what specific initiatives could be taken by Qualicum Beach to increase the tax base rather than the individual tax burden? That question, that goes to Brian.
Can you repeat it? There was a glitch in there.
Okay. What specific initiatives could be taken by Qualicum Beach to increase the tax base rather than the individual tax burden?
Okay, that's a good question. Probably the way I would look at this is that if we're getting some development within Qualicum Beach, I think that's where I would look at first, is offsetting the taxes to the citizens of Qualicum Beach, because in the end, they're the ones that are going to be benefiting, not us as much, except possibly with the influx of residential people and supporting our community. So I think I'd go there first. That's where most of that would come from. The other thing, again, is tourism. I mean, I'm looking at things like, even like we have, believe it or not, some fabulous golf courses around here, and I imagine that's going to come up shortly. But I mean, I used to go down to South Carolina to go on a golfing trip, and we would go and we'd hit all these golf courses. I mean, we've got golf courses here. I mean, why not bring the people in here and use tourism as a base for some of our taxes, right? I mentioned the Brand Festival. Bring those people in. There's so many things that we can do here to bring those dollars into our community and offset some of our taxes for our citizens, which I believe is high. So thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Second person to speak to this question is Jean. Do you want me to repeat the question, Jean?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay.
I agree with Brian. Definitely, to increase our tax base, it would be nice to have more housing. So it's a win-win, because we do need more housing, whether it's buildings that are going to be rented or sold. The other thing to increase the tax base would be the ability to attract more businesses in our town. And back in the day, And what is really special about Qualicum Beach, and we're not Parksville or Nanaimo, is that it used to be called the beauty of small. And it's about small businesses. We're all a little different, and we gave wonderful service. And it was a drawing card for tourists to come in. Right now, we have so many buildings commercially, and we're building more commercial spaces that they need to be filled. So I think that's something that the council should really look into, is helping the Chamber of Commerce and the town look into, as well as the Parts of Qualicum Tourism Association, to look into how we can attract more businesses into Qualicum Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Speaker number 3 is Peter. Don't worry, she'll unmute you, Peter.
Okay, there we
There you
go.
go.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the question. Well, to enhance our tax base, we only really have a couple of avenues to do that. One is through light industrial lands. You know, we have there is some land out at the airport that's designated light industrial. You know, and I don't mean by building machine shops or that type of thing out there. I mean, perhaps warehousing. It depends on what the federal government has to say, because they control the airports and the FAA rules. But the other thing is tourism. And I wanted to just bring up something that we did in Squamish. I keep bringing it up, but it was very successful. We gave, for every dollar we gave to the tourism board during our grants and aid process, I think we got back about $5, maybe even more dollars worth of product in the advertising end. I remember once flying down to Dallas, Texas, and I was sitting on American Airlines, and I opened up the magazine, American Airlines magazine, and right inside the front cover was an advertising piece on the gondola in Squamish. And I think that those advertising dollars to get people here for our tourism, because we have some of the most incredible beaches anywhere, even in some ways nicer than Tofino, because you can actually swim here without freezing to death. You know, and for families and kids, it's just the ideal place. It's really the Mediterranean of Canada. And I think that our advertising dollars, we could stretch a little further and promote through tourism, or through Qualicum Beach Tourism, and get some more mileage out of them. And then look at ways to expand our light industrial base. You know, using the East Village, maybe there's some places in there where we could have a live-work situation. All of those things help to bring money into the coffers for the town. So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Peter. Next, can we hear from Anne?
Yes, thank you. Well, my plan would be to continue to increase the density in the town core. When I was on council the last term, there were a number of infill projects that were approved. And there's one that's just broken ground recently. There's one that's half finished now, and another one that's well on its way. So I think just to continue that infill and increasing our density in the town core, which is a reflection of the vision for the community, I think is definitely one way that we can continue to build our tax base. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, our next speaker is Sarah.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. Similar to what everybody else is sort of saying, I feel like if we allow some careful and considerate development, it will support, tourism and housing development in particular, will draw more people here. And I think it's important to support these types of things because it supports our downtown. When we support our downtown businesses, more businesses will come and the tax base will increase. It creates more competition, it creates more opportunity, it creates more taxes and more people. Thank you.
Thank you. So this will be our last round of questions before we go to closing comments. So this is our last question, and we will start with Jean. The question is, what are your views on development proposals for the East Village and for the old bus garage lot? What are your views on the development proposal for the West Village and the
Isn't it East Village?
Sorry, East it is. Sorry, East Village. My goodness, you can tell I don't live in Qualicum, right? Let's try this again. What are your views on the development proposal for East Village and the old bus garage lot? Jean.
Yes, it's refreshing to see development in our downtown. It's vitalizing. There's going to be a pub that's planned in the East Village. And again, we don't have all of our commercial spaces in the old downtown filled up yet, but most of these new buildings will have housing up above. So I think that's wonderful. As far as the bus garage, that's another great project for our town. I would have liked to have seen all three design proposals. I would have liked to have seen a little more collaboration with the public on picking the choice for the bus garage. But I do know that they've had meetings with the stakeholders in our community, and the owners of Make It Natural to make our entrance way into our town special for Qualicum Beach. They'll have a community gathering place. Hopefully they've done a parking study, because they will require a lot of parking for staff, because there will be 4 big businesses on that intersection. But it's just nice to see things happening, that we're not a stagnant community. Thank you.
Thank you. This question now goes to Brian.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not really up to date on this. I believe it's something to do with the natural foods. So I'm going to jump on what Jean said and probably what the rest of the candidates are going to say. I think it's a great idea for having some development down in there. The pub's a great idea. So I'm all for any kind of development like that within reason. Again, I think we need to ensure that everyone has a say in it. If there are concerns out there, then definitely we need to listen to that. So as far as those developments go, I'm for it. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Peter.
Thank you. I've looked at the plans for both the bus garage and for the Qualicum Commons in there, and I think it's phenomenal. I've seen Plan A and Plan B, and I'm kind of somewhere in the middle of both of those. I think there's still some extensive visioning to go on there. I mean, for me, I would love to see something like the Naked Naturals on the ground floor, and then a layer of residential above for senior citizens. That way you could walk to the grocery store downstairs or across the street. You could have the PharmaSave across the street, ostensibly, and hopefully a doctor's office across the street, Life Labs down the street, all of those things to make it a walkable community. The vision for that area, I think, it's due, and I think it's phenomenal and progressive, and it's the right spot to have it. It's just an open chunk of land right now. And of course, obviously leaving the old schoolhouse in its current state, because that's a fabulous piece of our history. The other thing is looking at the East Village plan, and it's actually done really well so far from what I've seen from the drawings and the plan proposal. I think the idea of having, commercial space downstairs, and obviously, as Jean was saying, we still have some open commercial space that's not been taken, and this is probably part and parcel of the pandemic. It's difficult to get brick and mortar up right now because people are shopping from home, but that will change as people get their vaccinations and we move out of this eventually. So I think that having commercial space down below and retail as well as residential above, and this open concept of the square, the pub in the back, and talking perhaps the multi-use cinema group in there, to have a theater space, to be able to do all of those things. You can imagine walking out there one night and coming down out of the old town and through that causeway by the CIBC into the courtyard, and going through some stores, going and having a drink, going and seeing something in the theater. This is what we need to make this town vibrant and progressive, and still have our heritage piece here, which is the core of the village as well as the old schoolhouse. So I think they're all great and progressive concepts.
Thank you, Peter. The next person to address this is Sarah. Sarah, could you
Thank you. Thank you for your question. So the property at the bus garage has been sold to Naked Naturals, and they are proposing a 15,000 square foot natural food store with residential above and parking down below as a consideration. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how this development is going to take shape and working together in co-creating what that's going to look like. I'm also really happy to see that it includes some green space right out front. I think it's really important for us to be able to have a space that we can gather with our friends, have a cup of coffee, perhaps enjoy some culture, a space to have lunch outside with your friends, maybe a market, some music, and all while you're enjoying the spectacular view of Mount Arrowsmith. The East Village, it seems like it's kind of in a reborn sort of state. Windley Developments has bought the lot there that was the parking. Excited to see some denser housing going there, hopefully. And of course, like everybody else said, the brew pub is exciting. It's exciting to see it taking shape and hopefully seeing it open again, or sorry, open up this late summer or early fall. I think it's really exciting to see that hopefully in the new rebirth of the East Village, and as it takes shape, that it's walkable and offers some great space that's just outside of our downtown core for people to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne.
Thank you. I think both of these are very exciting opportunities for the community. I would hope that there's still an opportunity to include a cinema in some of the space there at the old bus garage, and also some inviting public spaces where people can congregate. I think that's really important to provide those spaces for citizens. Also, I've always thought it would be wonderful to have a boutique hotel in the uptown area. And I think this is supported in our official community plan, and I would like council to encourage that to happen. I think it would add life outside of regular business hours. And I think it could be very exciting. And I really hope that through some of the housing that's provided in the East Village and elsewhere, that we are able to include some affordable units, because I think that's going to be important. I would love to see affordable units incorporated into new developments. And interdispersed and intermingled. And yeah, I think they're both very exciting opportunities. I look forward to seeing what's built in the time ahead.
Thank you. So we're kind of a little, we don't quite have enough time for another question to go a full round before we do closing comments. So I'm going to take some personal freedom here, and I'm going to ask you to answer this question in a minute or less, and then we'll get into the closing comments. So the question is, if you had a minute or less to explain what the principal role of a member of council is, what would you say? In a minute or less, what is the primary role of a council member? And that question starts with Jean.
Just to get off the top, I say to listen and seek positive action. So it's being accessible, hearing what the public have to say, letting the public know what kind of developments and proposals we're dealing with, so that we're all working together for what we want in our community. I think that is what's a priority for being on council.
Wow, you did that fast. You did it in 30 seconds. The next person is Brian.
Thanks, Susan. I believe a councillor is a liaison between municipal government and the citizens of Qualicum Beach. So basically what a councillor does is listen to the citizens. If they require information, our job is to get that information to them as best as possible. Ensure that whatever information we're giving to the citizens is correct, and ensure that that information gets back to council so that council has the appropriate information to make proper decisions on some of the issues at hand. I'm only one person though. I'm one councillor. There is a mayor and other councillors involved. So Yeah, I think the one main thing for counselor is to listen to the citizens because that's who put them there. Thank you.
Thank you. Then the next person is Peter. And just give John a second to reset the timer.
Sure.
Ready.
Okay, thank you. And I agree with Brian. To be a listener is extremely important, and to be an advocate for those who put you in the chair, and to facilitate their wishes, and to bring forth the vision of the OCP within that framework of the facilitation, and facilitating also with higher levels of government. It's important to realize that we can't do everything by ourselves, nor can we afford to. And this is why we need to lean on the province whenever possible and get them to shake out the purse strings for us to help us out with initiatives that we have and writing grants, etc. So basically a counselor is something that is facilitating all of that while working cohesively as a team with your co-counselors and trying to get all of this done while maintaining a close contact with your community and understanding what their wishes are and their vision is for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne?
Okay, so I believe it's about serving the entire community and to represent people's voices. I also think that it's important to be making decisions in the best interests of the community, the whole community and the town, keeping that in mind, and also really including fiscal accountability. I think that's a piece of the puzzle that needs to be mentioned as well. So that's how I see council, serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you. I believe as a council person, the primary duty is to work for the citizens of Qualicum Beach, advocate for our residents, like everybody else said. Those are the people that put the council people in our seats. It's our job to listen and to engage without bias, execute the best decision that you can without prejudice, and make decisions in an educated and inclusive manner. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I'd given you guys 2 minutes, would you have each used a minute? I gave you 1 and everybody used 30 seconds, except for Peter. He went right to the full limit. Great. Thank you very much, guys. So the next section, which is our final section, is for you to make your closing comments. You can make your comments about any aspect of the position or the position in general. I really encourage you to use your whole 2 minutes. This is the last impression you have for these people in this meeting. And currently we're sitting at 163. At one time we were at 190 something. So there's been a lot of people here listening to you. We will go in this order. Excuse me. Peter, Sarah, Jean, Anne, and Brian. Peter, Sarah, Jean, Anne, and Brian. So Peter, could you give your last 2 minutes closing comments, please?
I'll try to keep it to 2 minutes. Thank you. You know, I think that for me, bringing my experience to the table, as I have mentioned previously, it is a steep learning curve for a junior counselor to come in, given that we are, you know, a year and a half left in this term, to be able to hit the ground running with some big issues, both with the East Village, with many other things too. We have collective bargaining coming up with CUPE. We have HR needs at the Muni coming up still. We have a budget, which I have done 4 of. We have our provincial relationship is something that I think we need to foster in order to get those grants. So for me, having had that experience, I would love to have the chance to be able to put myself in that seat on your behalf and to help you with the vision of Qualicum Beach. Having had that experience, I think is something that I bring to the table. And on May 15th, I would hope that you could have a vote for Pete. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. The next speaker is Sarah.
Thank you. I'm running in this by-election to help and to support our people, not necessarily for projects. I think our people need to come first. If I am elected, I will work for the citizens of Qualicum Beach to make it even better. I will advocate for housing of all types, healthcare, and respectful and transparent communication. I believed in balanced growth to help refresh and rejuvenate our local economy, housing, tourism, accommodation, and commercial space. I believe in respecting our environment and preserving and celebrating our beaches, trails, mountains, and trees. This election, the residents of Qualicum Beach, you have two choices: to live in the past or welcome a bright and fresh future. We must balance the character of our town and the needs of tomorrow. I represent families and business. I have the courage and the integrity to execute the best decision without bias and prejudice, and I hope I can count on your vote on May 15th. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this evening. I have appreciated this evening's opportunity to discussing your concerns regarding the governance of our town. I look forward to open communication, transparency, and collaboration between council and the community. We need to be consistently consulted and informed about what is happening in our town. Public participation can and should influence the decisions that are made in council. Uniquely, I am not sequestered in an office. My store allows easy access for anyone to meet with me 7 days a week. I would like to contribute my skills and energy to help to ensure that Qualicum Beach grows in the thoughtful, well-planned direction while maintaining the integrity of our lovely town. It was about 25 years ago that my family and I drove into Qualicum Beach, and we were so impressed with the boulevard of little trees being planted on Memorial Street. To this day, they are strong and beautiful, and that's how I envision the community of Qualicum Beach to be. I am nonpartisan. I promise to work hard for you, and damn hard, and stay true to the values of this unique and exceptional community. And I'm sorry if I swore, because I don't have the councilor experience, but I will work hard. Like you, I sincerely want to see Qualicum Beach to thrive. I'm here for our shared values, our shared concerns, and our shared priorities. I am here for you.
Thank you,
Thank
Jean. Okay. Now we have Anne.
Thank you. I believe all 5 of us candidates are likely running because we really care about this community, but we all have different ideas and strategies. I have a vision to preserve the character of our town while embracing the opportunities change will bring. As I stated in my opening, this by-election is different from a general election. With just a year and a half left in this term, the person who is elected will need to hit the ground running. I have experience serving as a counselor in Qualicum Beach from 2014 to 2018, so I know the job, and I have a vision, and I am ready to go to work as a counselor for the residents of Qualicum Beach. My track record of community involvement, my knowledge of local government, my prior service as a town councilor, and most of all, my love of this special place we call Qualicum Beach uniquely qualifies me. I am asking for your vote in this by-election, either on election day, in the advance voting, or by mail-in ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Brian? Brian?
Yes, thank you, Susan. First of all, thanks, John. Thanks, Susan, Sarah, Peter, Anne, and Jean, and the citizens and the come on to watch us today. I think that shows a lot of support, a lot of concern for the town of Qualicum Beach, which I actually do have also. I'm coming in with no preconceived ideas. I can hit the ground running because I do have a wealth of knowledge, professional abilities, and a lot of contacts through all municipalities on Vancouver Island and different organizations. So I'm not coming in here to promise you anything. You heard a lot of stuff here today. I'm only one person, but I can make a difference if people will listen, and I can make those decisions with them. Again, no promises, but I'm certainly here for you guys, and I will certainly work hard. It's something I've enjoyed. It's something in my heart. I've always loved municipal work and municipal government. So I think I'd be a good fit for you guys, and I appreciate you listening again, and appreciate any support you can give me. Thank you. From me and my friends.
Thank you to all of the candidates. Before you go, I want everyone in the audience to know that these candidates are open to your questions. All you need to do is connect with them individually after the event. John Wood has a few closing comments, so please give him your attention.
Thank you very much. I'm the only one that doesn't have a timer in front of his face anymore. Good evening again. I thank all of the candidates for their strong participation. I thank our moderator, Susan. I think you did a wonderful job. And I thank all attendees for taking part in the meeting. I want to also especially thank our very dedicated organizing committee. I think we put together a very good show tonight. And as was already mentioned, I just want to give a reminder to everyone. No matter whether you vote by mail, in one of the advanced polls on the 5th or 12th of May, or at the Civic Center for voting day on the 15th, please remember to vote. It's very important. We all have one vote and we need to get out there. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.